How safe do you feel in your relationships? And let me stress that by safe, I don't necessarily mean healthy. It could mean familiar. It can mean that you're so used to it that it feels comfortable, even if it's uncomfortable. And this is something that many people face, right? I know I've been there. I was in a toxic relationship that I stayed in far longer than I needed to or should have because it felt familiar. And that uncertainty of being alone is a lot scarier than lonely with something new. And something new could actually mean spending more time with yourself, being safe in your own skin and with who you are and by yourself. Many people feel this pain, and it could come from childhood trauma. It could come from being in a relationship that you had that was not positive, and now you're bringing that into your new relationship. But how do we nip that in the bud? And on the show on Holistically Speaking, I bring the best of the best when it comes to experts in their field. And that is why Jessica Baum is joining us. She is a licensed psychotherapist. She is a best selling author of Anxiously Attached, Becoming More Secure in Your Life and Love. And now she has a new book coming out specifically focusing on safe. In fact, that's the title of the book, Safe. Coming Home to Yourself and Others, an attachment informed guide to building secure relationships. Jessica, we can never talk about this topic enough, and I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so excited to be here. And yes, it is such an important topic and a complex topic, and one that we all need a lot of information on because we all desire those safe relationships.
We have a lot of areas we could go into when we do this work in therapy and different kinds of approaches to helping people on their emotional well being journey. What was your reason for focusing on relationships? And I know you have the Relationship Institute in Palm Beach, Florida, but what was your why for wanting to go into that area and really design your business around that?
I think that, I'm an imago therapist, which is a couples counselor, and I've worked in addiction and with codependency. But when I learned attachment theory, and when I mean really studied attachment theory, it explained a lot of my suffering. Like the word codependency doesn't really mean anything to me anymore because I understand attachment theory on a neurobiological level. And I think personally and professionally, and what I see in the world is so many of us struggle with attachment issues, insecurities, adaptations, patterns. And when I really understood how many people are suffering in the way that I had when I was younger, before I did some deeper work, I just knew people needed this information. It just filled in the gap for so many people. And so yeah, it was huge for me. Attachment is everything. And when we have healthy, secure attachments in our lives, we like literally thrive. But if we don't, our lives are literally miserable. So really understanding, and like what you said in your intro, like we stay in the familiar for a lot of reasons. And I spent a lot of time unpacking that compassionately in this book. Like there are deep psychological and implicit reasons as to why we stay in what we know and want to resolve our trauma, often in situations that only perpetuate and recreate it.
Yeah, beautifully said. You really hit the nail on the head when you titled this book Safe, because it is something that that a lot of people struggle with, and maybe they don't know it's safety. That beautiful amygdala of ours is designed to go to the negative anyway to keep us safe, right? They say the whole idea of it's not you, it's your brain. It's doing what it's designed to do. But in that, it impacts your entire body, this somatic side of your body, the emotional side of your body, the autonomic side of your body, and the cognitive side. So where can we stress to people that are tuning in that the idea of safety is possible?
Yeah, listen, the interesting thing about safety is we can't fake safety, right?
Mhm.
And it starts actually with safe relationships with others, and those safe relationships allowing you to be present with what's going on inside of you. And, I think, we can think that a relationship is safe. It can start out feeling very safe, and then, our wounds come up and our patterns come up. things can start to feel really unsafe if we're really unconscious in those
Mhm.
relationships and we don't get conscious as to what is really being awakened inside of us. So, yeah, healing starts in safe relationships. I'm a firm believer that it can happen in romantic relationships, but it does take two people willing to get conscious about what's really going on inside them to create a container of safety to evolve. Or it takes another safe relationship, I call them anchors in our lives, to help hold what we're holding in our body. So a lot of the book is about, the body keeps a score. It's
Mhm.
about how we're holding attachment wounds in our body and the science around that. It's not woo-woo. Like I actually unpack the science around implicit memory and stored memory and attachment wounds in the body. And we need safe people to start to even understand what that is.
So, are there certain steps that you do go through in this book to make it easy for people to understand, especially when you're in it? It's very hard to see how to change anything when you're actually in the upset, when you're in the duress. So, if someone is listening and tuning in, and we have an amazing listenership here, and I just want to give people options, or if they know somebody, what would be the first thing that this book could be beneficial to give them, like a companion guide?
Oh yeah, I mean the book does so much and it would be hard for me to like kind of narrow it down, but it talks about what type of relationships actually heal us from a
Mm.
scientific level. It talks about implicit memory. So it talks about how to start to notice what is going on in the here and now and through sensations and what our original memory system is, how to connect that to the original wound. So hopefully when you read the book, you get a guide and it comes with somatic meditations that I give you even separately, but you come out realizing that that feeling in your gut or that feeling in your heart or the way your muscles are feeling have more to do than what's just happening in the here and now, and that your body is holding on to attachment stories and attachment memories. And so we start to create like awareness around what is going on inside of you. We develop something called interoception in the book, which is the ability to kind of really tune into the body and really start listening to your body and develop a new relationship with your body. It's not a weekend read, it's a companion, one that I hope you bring to your anchors or your therapist. Like it is teaching you to kind of really become conscious of what might be going on inside of you so that you don't keep repeating the same quote unquote trauma bond and automatic nervous system cycles that you might get stuck in, which can make you miserable, as you know.
Yeah. And you mentioned anchors. For those who aren't familiar with that, what exactly is an anchor?
So, I study interpersonal neurobiology, and in the practice and the philosophy that I study is that you can't heal unless you have healing relationships. And so what was wounded early in relationship can only heal in relationship. So we need
Mm.
to re-experience things in a healing relationship. It doesn't mean that it has to be a therapist. I actually in the book unpack what types of relationships are healing because not everybody can afford a therapist, but an anchor is someone who holds space in a state of safety for the most part, right? No one is always in a state of safety or ventral, listens, is empathic towards you, and allows you to share. And in the sharing, you kind of dive deep into what's going on in your inner world. And I say that in order to build inner security, we internalize anchors. So we have to internalize safe people. The same way an infant internalizes their parents,
Mhm.
the parents are secure, they internalize that. As adults, we get to re internalize people again. So we use our anchors and we use supportive relationships as a way to re-anchor into security. Is that's just one of the methods, but a big theme in the book.
But what if people don't feel any of that? What if people are struggling? And I imagine there's people listening right now that are like, I don't have that. I don't have a person I can talk to. I don't feel like it's a safe place to talk to my partner. I don't think my friends are going to get it, or my family. Where do you start with something like that? I mean, obviously the first step is an awareness that something doesn't feel right in your body and your mind. So that's good. If you're feeling that and you're tuning in and listening and saying you're pulling against that resistance, that's a good first step. But what do you do with that once you know that?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an important question that you're
Yeah.
asking because people come to me all the time and they're like, I don't, you're my safest person. You're the only one And so sometimes you can find it in a room, sometimes it's the ant that you like, and I talk about in the book how to kind of go through your Rolodex and see if there's
Mm,
anyone with the capacity. But also want to let you know that in my experience and what your nervous system starts to recognize is it only takes one safe relationship to get vulnerable and have that experience for your nervous system to start to understand that that's what you want and crave. And I'm not a manifester, but our nervous systems will call in what we are experiencing. So if we can experience this with one person, one relationship can change the trajectory of your healing process. So I'm not going to sit here and say you can do this on your own. There's parts that you can do on your own when it comes to healing, but we do need each other. And I think it's important to say that because I don't want people to go home and read a self-help book and think they're going to heal their attachment wounds all by themselves, right? That's like setting you up for failure.
mm,
But I mean, and I have clients that are like, I've been doing session with you, Jess, and now I have a different level of intimacy or a different level of understanding. And now I'm looking for that. And my nervous system's starting to recognize that as more familiar or safe. And I'm orienting to that. So it only takes one relationship to really start to change the blueprint. But we do need to find secure, healthy people to internalize and to start to do the work. And so that is a necessary component.
mm.
And you'd be surprised, like, people start to do the work and then they realize that there is maybe that one person that they didn't even think about, or, someone they've lost touch with that does have a capacity to listen and really does care and look at you as a whole person or doesn't judge you or try to fix you. So after you start doing a little bit of the work, and if not, there are therapists and coaches that hopefully can hold non-judgmental space and start to create this safety for you. And many people have to start that way as well, especially in our culture.
Yeah, so let's just emphasize that it only takes one. Just remember that. It only takes one. And like you said, like Jessica said, go through that Rolodex. Think about people who have been in your life, people who might have come back into your life, people you've lost touch with, because really we all have a story. We're all living on this big blue marble and trying to get through and make it a positive experience. Don't think for a moment that everyone's life is perfect, right? There's always somebody and something happening. In this digital age, we see the best of the best online, but we're not seeing the battles that people are facing all the time. You know.
And you'd be surprised. I in the book I give you so much knowledge. I talk about co-anchors.
Hmm.
And if you're listening, you're like, I don't have someone like that. There are 10 other people that are saying, I don't have someone like that. And it just takes a little vulnerability and courage. And I give the instructions as how you can co anchor each other. It's like basically co regulation at its best. So sometimes what we do is we develop listening partnerships, or we find people like that we're not so dysregulated in our life. I can hold space for you, and then you can hold space for me, and we start to build these deeper containers with each other. So there are other people that are thinking just like you, and it's like the scariest first step is finding some one person that you feel safe enough with.
Yeah, great. It's really about community when we think about it. You know, the word
Uh-huh.
community is so important. We see people leading group coaching and or just going out and having a group of sisters or friends or people that you're just meeting that you can share with, you know? It can make a big difference just being heard and knowing you're not alone in the battle. So, yeah, really important. That's the first step to safety. With that being said, I just want to mention to folks safe coming home to yourself and others, an attachment informed guide to building secure relationships. Little thumbs up came up. These apps always have the all, at least it's a thumbs up, right? If you're tuning in or watching on YouTube. But this book is not your first. You had another book that came out, The Anxiously Attached. How do they differ? How do these books
Hmm.
differ?
Anxiously attached focuses on anxious attachment. Everyone loves anxiously attached. It's a great starter. It talks about the anxious avoidant dance a lot. It talks about building inner security, a lot about the abandonment wound. Safe talks about all attachment
Mm,
styles and all wounds, and that never are really just one. We can show up in different relationships. And Safe dives deep into the science of healing.
mm,
So it's not just about attachment, but it's about understanding the attachment wounds from the inside out, what it's like to be a baby, what these patterns feel like, what our parents are going through. But Safe talks about the neural net. It literally talks about how the healing process unfolds from a neurobiological level. Because I want people to have the science. I don't want this to just be like a book, do this. I want you to say, okay, and I'm in this healing process, and this is what's happening. My neural nets are opening, my response flexibility time is changing. This is what this wound feels like. This is where, it's a deeper dive
mm.
into attachment theory. And it's for everyone because even though I identify as anxiously attached, I actually feel very secure in my life now. And I've done a lot of work since the first book. I have avoidant protectors.
Mhm.
I had disorganized pockets in my life. So I talk about how even if we can feel like we identify with one attachment style, we actually are never rarely just one. And we have different embedded responses in different relationships. And I paint the whole picture for you. So you're gonna walk away with a much deeper understanding of attachment.
Here's what I love as well. As a therapist, and this is something I think has changed in the world of therapy and emotional well being, is that therapists are becoming more real. And I've got stuff too, right? So when you share that, I think it creates more of a human realism. Jessica's been through stuff, Hillary's been through stuff, and we're all just
Mhm.
humans walking each other home here. So just being able to understand what your attachment style is and that you had to do the work yourself makes you a better therapist, makes you a better human being, a better woman. So these are the important things. And these are the kind of therapists and practitioners that I love talking to because if you've been through it, you're gonna understand it more. It doesn't mean you have to be through the same battle or the same upset, but just knowing that nobody's life is perfect. This is how
Oh,
we grow and learn, you know?
yeah, I so appreciate that. When I wrote Anxiously Attached, I was doing a lot of deep work with my current partner who decided that he didn't want to do the deep work at a certain point, which was devastating
Yeah.
for me, especially for someone in my position. And losing him brought up all my abandonment wounds again. And I talk really openly about that. It was a very humbling experience. And you're absolutely right. Like, I had pockets of disorganization. I had deep wounds to heal. And
Mhm.
it was like, just because I'm an expert and I study, I wish that would bypass the work, but it doesn't. And I'm not embarrassed to share it because I just really I want to help people. And yeah, I'm human too. And I gotta walk the walk. And we don't know what that is sometimes when we're walking into it. But with the right support, we can just keep going. We can keep going through it.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. So beautiful. And I
Yeah.
totally resonate with that myself because when you're going through it, you don't see it. You don't know how to get out of it. It almost feels like you are at the bottom of the ocean and you cannot find a way to pull yourself up when you're at the bottom of the barrel. And being able to do the work and learn through it and just having some tools, even if you're in the work yourself, can also that feeling of imposter syndrome can come up because you're like, I should know better. I shouldn't have been in a relationship like this. I remember feeling that way. But for those of you who might feel that as well, because that can come up, like I'm a, you know, a established person, or I've built an empire, or I'm a great mom, and how did this happen to me? I'm a good person. That feeling of what did I do comes up. Like, what did I do wrong? And that can be very heavy, you know?
Yeah, I really talk about implicit attraction. So I talk about like what maybe the listener will want to term as like unconscious, but it's
Mhm.
really not unconscious. But we're attracted to particular people for a variety of reasons, like physical attributes, pheromones, but the long-term trajectory of a relationship comes down to implicit information in our body
Mm,
and what we expect from relationship. I deeply unpack that because you know, I loved my
mhm,
ex-partner, and he had a lot of traits that were similar to my father growing up, and I talk about it, and the work that I did was to get conscious of my original wound, and so it was a portal in. I wish
Mm.
he would have done the work with me. I mean, I think we all wish that. I think he wishes that too. But the work is hard and you can't force another person to do the work. Although in my book, I talk about many couples do the work together. So many people are, lucky enough to get conscious, but it takes a certain kind of person to be able to walk through that fire. So I just think that we are attracted to what we know, and leaning on safe people and doing the work is usually the unfamiliar. And it feels scary and hard, and if you're listening, like a listening partner, but that is actually how we start to reorient towards a whole new way of being. And so we want to try to not go to what we know and start to form relationships that feel different to our nervous system, safer, so that we can reprogram ourselves. I hate that word, but re-experience new ways of relating that become healthier, and they become the new benchmarks to moving forward into healthier romantic partnerships. I mean, that's where I go into family dynamics in this book. It's not just romance, but like, let's face it, like romance is where a lot of our implicit or our trauma kind of gets recreated.
Right. I love that you're using the word re-experience. I like that better too than reprogramming because it
Yeah.
just it sounds more human than a
Yeah.
computer, which a lot of times we hear the analogies like this is like an operating system. It is, but we're humans. So re-experiencing, we all want good experiences, and that's a
hmm
beautiful way of putting it. So just to remind you, this book, Safe: Coming Home to Yourself and Others, an Attachment Informed Guide to Building Secure Relationships. I'm going to have this available on the podcast platform on Holistically Speaking, but also don't forget we have the Holistically Speaking book nook, and my authors who have been on this show, the books will be there for you. So I will have the book, I will have the information on Jessica available for you to get in touch with her and learn more about her programs and the book. So stress not, it will be there for you to help you be safe. So,
And for
yeah.
I have something special for
Oh, please
your
share. Yes.
listeners. I have a blueprint on attachment labels deeper, so a deeper dive, so they can get that immediately. And I have a recording of me and my mentor, who's in her 80s, who has studied this stuff forever, talking about inner security and what that feels like. So for those of your listeners who buy it, we'll give you the link. They will get those special free offers with it. So it'll give them a jump start.
Love that. Love that so much. So we'll actually add that to the podcast as well. So everything's available for folks to grab the book. Amazing. That's
Mhm.
a beautiful offer. And hearing the mentorship, how was that for you?
Listen, I just feel like, certain people come into your life.
Mm,
I This woman came into my life helping me edit my first book, and her name's Bonnie Bananock, and she has studied interpersonal neurobiology for like over 20 years, to the point where even if I studied every day, I could never register the amount of information and compassion that she held. And from the moment I met her, I was just like, I just need more of this. What is this? And it was wisdom, and it was safety, and it was neurobiology. And she just became my mentor. She helped me find a therapist. She has single-handedly changed my life. I am so incredibly grateful, and so just listening to her, and I just get so much wisdom from her, and so many people follow her. She's written The Heart of Trauma. She's the therapist that therapists go to for learning. So I was just so lucky to have the right safe support come into my life and help me kind of create this book. So she's been a big part of it. And I'm just very grateful.
So, listen, we're going to put that in the book nook. We have more information that you can find in the notes of this podcast. If this conversation touch moves and inspires you in any way, if anything that Jessica is sharing or that I said is something that you feel will resonate with somebody else, could help someone else, or even yourself, like go a little deeper,
Mhm.
consider paying it forward, passing it along, leave a comment or a rating review so that we know that this is making a difference. It'll allow more ears and eyes to get on this episode and this conversation and touch more people because that's really what it's about. It's about community, it's about making a difference in the world. It's about serving others, isn't it?
Absolutely. And if you're listening and you have you're struggling in your relationship and you're just like, here I am again, I just want you to know, like, you are so not alone. And, I hope this information gets to you so you can put some of the pieces together. And yeah, I just want people to not feel alone. Like, we are in this together. We're all trying to help each other out here.
Beautiful. What are you hoping will come from this book?
I hope that people who are interested in attachment theory, there's a lot out there, will see this as very innovative in a new way. And I think it paints compassion for even
Mm,
narcissistic wounds. It paints such a compassionate lens for how we get wounded and how that plays out in our life and what we attract. That I hope it just enlightens the reader. I hope every reader walks away somewhat shifted or creating some insight in their life that, impacts them.
yeah, beautiful. All right. That's the heavy stuff we're getting out of the way. Let's have a little fun. I want to have a little fun with you.
Okay.
So, I do a thing on this show that I've been doing for years called the Brain Candy Game. This is basically a rapid fire game. So, we're going to put the neurons to work. I'm going to throw out a word that you said during this episode. And what I want you to do, Miss Jessica, is come back with the first word that comes to mind. Have a little fun here.
God.
Have a little fun.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. You
Okay.
ready? All right. Anchors.
Special people.
Relationship.
So important.
Somatic.
Everything.
Interoception.
A skill.
Rolodex.
I hope you have many.
That's great. Healing.
Hard work and worth it.
Trauma.
Sucks.
Mentorship.
Lucky.
Attachment.
Everything.
Wounds.
Love.
Awareness.
Important.
Re-experience.
Gift.
Safe.
Everything.
Yeah. It is everything. Amazing. You were good at that.
Those are a lot of words I'm very familiar with.
I know, but the difficulty is like we internalize it and we want to pick the right word and we'll sit there and we ruminate on it. I've had that happen, and then I have people that are just like boom, 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 boom. You knew where you were going with each one of those things, which to me says you truly align and you resonate with everything that you're doing in this book, but it goes beyond the book.
With the first book, it's like I didn't realize how much more healing I had to do, but I feel, and I'm always healing, there's no finish line,
Mm,
but I feel like I'm embodied in a way that I can walk into the world with this book and be like, I have lived this experience and I want you to have that too. And I feel very proud about that. I mean, that's harder than the book itself,
yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Jessica. This has been great. I want to give you a moment just to share some final thoughts, even though you have shared some wisdom bombs here. What would you like to leave with those who are tuning into Holistically Speaking?
If you decide to get curious about your own patterns and, creating healthier relationships, just know that you're taking a very courageous step. And it's okay to admit that, we have tough relationships or that we're suffering in our relationships, and that so many people are experiencing that look perfect on the outside, and it's just not what's going on. You're just not alone if you're in that situation. And I hope you get what you need and you feel supported in the way that you can.
All right, my friends, it's time to feel safe. And you can do that by connecting with Jessica and also picking up a copy of her latest book, Safe: Coming Home to Yourself and Others, an attachment-informed guide to building secure relationships. You know this book is going to be right up there on the Holistically Speaking Book Nook Library. So you can grab it there. You can also find it in the notes of this podcast. In addition to that beautiful gift that she's giving away if you purchase this book, it can't be any better than that. And once you finish this conversation, I would be so grateful if you could give it some love. Leave a thoughtful response or rating wherever you are tuning in and watching. It could be on Apple or Spotify or even on YouTube or anywhere you're tuning in. Your comments help this conversation reach more people. And that's really what it's all about, isn't it? It's about community, and you're part of the process. And I thank you for it. And don't forget, you can always join me live every month online for the free Havening happy hours. This is my gift to you. I've been doing it since March of 2020, and I don't plan to stop. It's a safe place to learn how to put the power of emotional well-being and healing in your hands with neuroscience on your side. And if you are already a fan of Havening and you've been to my Havening happy hours, or we've worked together, or you've seen me on stage, and you're looking to level up and bring Havening into your practice, you can get certified, and I can help you do that. And I added more information about you becoming a pioneer practitioner and what you can do to work with me in mentorship. I'd love to have you. So the music for this show of Holistically Speaking since day one has been created and produced by Litbone Redding. Give him a listen. It's music for your soul. And without you, my friend, without you tuning in week after week, this wouldn't all be possible. Thanks for trusting me. Thanks for joining me on this journey. And remember this, all you need is one anchor, right? Trust that you have the ability to be safe. And it begins with taking that first step and choosing to hug it out with yourself. I'm glad you're here. I love you. I believe in you. And I'm sending hugs your way. Be well.